In this video, we're going to look at solutions to equations. So on the screen, we have an example of an equation with infinite solutions. In 8th grade, I have to introduce to you that sometimes you will have equations that can't be solved. This equation on the screen has infinite solutions. That means that any number in the world, positive, negative, fraction, decimal, rational, irrational, big, small, any number in the world is an answer to this problem. You can't solve it. Most of the time when we solve an equation, we just get x equals 4 or y equals negative 12. This equation doesn't have that. Every single number in the entire world is a solution. So when we say it has infinite solutions, the list of answers is endless. So it says 2x plus 5 equals 2x plus 5. So what made this have infinite solutions? Well, anytime an equation has the same number of x's on each side of the equal sign, and the constants, which are the plain old numbers, are exactly the same too, then it's going to have infinite solutions. So this equation, if you look, it's just the same thing on both sides of the equal sign, right? Whatever number you put in for x is going to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign, so any number is going to work, right? So this equation has infinite solutions. This is an example of an equation with 0 solutions. If I ask you to solve this equation, you would just put your hands up and say, I can't solve this. It doesn't have an answer. So look at it. It has 0 solutions because it has the same number of x's on each side, but the constants are different. This one on the left says 3x plus 11 is the same thing as 3x minus 6. There's never going to be a number that I can add 11 to and subtract 6 from it and somehow get the same value. That's never going to be a possible solution. So this equation has 0 solutions. And this equation has 1 solution. You know, you've been solving equations for a few years now, and equations have always had an answer, right? This is just an example of another one of those equations, right? Well, why did those have equations? Why did those have solutions? I'm sorry. That's because there's a different number of x's on each side of the equal sign. And the constants don't actually matter here. As long as there's a different number of x's on each side of the equal sign, then your equation is going to have 1 solution. Here's another example of an equation with infinite solutions. Remember, infinite solutions happens when you have the same exact number of variables on each side. So we have 7x on both sides of the equal sign. And the constants are also exactly the same. So it's fine. The order of this problem is not the reason why it has infinite solutions. It's because they both sides have a 7x and both sides have a 9. This has infinite solutions. This one has 0 solutions because both sides have an 8x. But one has a negative 9 and one has a 3. The variable is exactly the same on both sides, but the constants are different. That means that this will have 0 solutions. Here's another example of an equation with 1 solution. If you look carefully, I think you're trying to be tricked here, right? The 12x on the left and the 12 constant on the right, that's fine. Those numbers are the same. To see how many solutions it have, just look at the number in front of each variable. Just look at the total number of x's on each side of the equal sign. There's 12 x's on the left, negative 3 x's on the right. This one's going to have 1 solution because the number of x's is different. Here's another example that has infinite solutions. Look carefully, there's the same number of x's on both sides, negative 9x, and the same constant on both sides, positive 1. One more example with an equation with 0 solutions. Both of these have a 10x, but look carefully, one of them has a positive 8 being added, one of them has a negative 8. So remember, if the variables are the same but the constants are different, then that means it has 0 solutions. And finally, here's another example with 1 solution. If you look, the variables are different. Doesn't matter what the constants are doing. If the variables are different on each side, then it has 1 solution. So here's a quick summary. If an equation has infinite solutions, it's because it has the same number of x's on each side and constants that are the same on each side. An equation with 0 solutions has the same number of x's on each side, but the constants are different. And an equation with 1 solution has different x's on each side, and the constants don't actually matter. Finally, before I leave, here's a cool little chart that will help you remember all this. So if you look, the columns represent how many solutions your equation will have, and the rows represents the variables and the constants involved in the equation. So if I know I have the same amount of variables and different amount of constants, I would just look for that in the table. Oh, same amount of variables, different amount of constants, that has 0 solutions. So I've shared this document with you, and also you have the video available if you need it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.